Okay, hi, I'm Duncan Kreeger. Welcome to Defendercast. Defendercast is a podcast about business, property and positive thinking. So we're collaborating today with Bridging and Commercial and a lending business of mine called Tab. I've spent many years around the bridging industry, more years than I care to remind anybody. And yeah, I just thought this would be an interesting spin on, rather than us having leaflets and handing out and telling everyone how great Tab is, that we would do something different. So we've done it in conjunction with Bridging and Commercial. I'm going to ask you to briefly introduce yourself. The three sort of things here are name, company and an elevator pitch. If you've got something in you, that would be great. Yeah. And I'm going to ask you to go first.
Well, the elevator pitch is definitely one for the Chief Commercial Officer.
Fine.
But to introduce myself, my name is Nick Baker, Head of Intermediaries at Allica Bank, the UK's newest business bank. So I'm responsible for engaging and managing our broker panel. And delivering product into that panel for the benefit of SMEs.
Awesome.
So Chris Weller, Chief Commercial Officer at Allica Bank, as Nick says, the UK's newest business bank. We founded Allica on the very simple premise that we think that SMEs need the support to be empowered, and we really believe that, you know, businesses in the SME sector have suffered for a long time with banks squeezing them into the middle from either the corporate side or also from taking solutions out of retail banks. And we believe we can do that differently and really give them solutions that are designed specifically for SMEs. We're very early on that journey. We received our regulatory approvals in September. We are now working out in the market with our broker partners and looking at how we can really bring products and services to customers as we build the business.
Okay, interesting. I've got loads of questions. So Allica Bank, yep. So it's a brand new business, new banking licence. So give us a course sort of quick whistle-stop tour of what that process looks like, becoming a bank.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenging process, one that a number of people have been through and people still continue to go through.
Some have failed as well.
Well, it's a challenging process, and I think for all the right reasons, as you would hope, both from a regulatory point of view, but also because it's important that the proposition that you put out to customers is one that really has resonance with them.
Definitely.
And I think both the regulator side, but also from, you know, our customers and the broker partners that we've been talking to as we've been going through that process and that journey, have been really receptive to what it is we're talking to them about. You know, we don't sit here today as a business that's got everything we want to provide. You know, we are a growing business in our own right. But I think the key thing for us is that, you know, as the market has changed, you know, we've built Allica on the premise of being able to, you know, to really support those SME businesses. We talk about, you know, kind of expert banking for business Britain. And for us, that's about bringing modern digital tools into play. That doesn't necessarily mean the shiniest, whizziest app that's out in the marketplace. It means things that are practical, that work for them, that give them, you know, pragmatic solutions to the time and day-to-day challenges they have. And at the same time, giving them the ability to work with relationship managers. So as Allica Bank, we'll be delivering out a team of experienced relationship managers across the UK.
What do your ideal customer look like then?
So we've got a broad range of customers that we'll focus on, you know, but ultimately we're there to support SME businesses, and that will change over a period of time. But we're really looking at, you know, the core trading companies across the UK.
And it's providing lending to those companies, right?
Yeah, both lending and deposit products as well. Yeah. So one of the key parts that we've got is the ability to take deposits.
Well, you need deposits in order to
Absolutely right.
lend, right?
Ultimately, it's about giving SMEs the option to use those cash flows within the business to really drive out opportunities for them as they want to grow or develop.
What's your background?
So I've been working across financial services for a number of years. Chiefly in commercial roles, whether that be in some of I was most recently at one of the peer-to-peer fintech businesses, previously at other businesses, also with a stint outside, but mainly across commercial roles, always with an SME focus. My passion and edge is SME businesses.
So your experience of peer-to-peer has now shifted back into a sort of more old school traditional banking model. Is there a reason that you back that?
It's a really good question. I mean, I think one of the things that, you know, we certainly think is that banking isn't old school.
Yep.
We think that there are some real, benefits of the way in which banks
do
have worked,
banking is
right?
old school, yeah.
But also the way you can deliver that to customers now has fundamentally changed within the market.
I'm going to ask you about that as well. What's your background?
Well, I think the point Chris just touched on there, which is Allica trying to take a slightly different approach, is quite typified by my appointment.
Yeah.
So my career last 13 years, I've been at Allica for 12 months, but 13 years prior to that, I was a commercial mortgage broker.
Okay.
That sounds like I'm just going to say I'm a recovering commercial mortgage broker.
Yeah.
So
sorry to hear that.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely superb time, worked with some great people, worked with some great lenders as well. But actually what I saw during that process was everyone talks about the SME and everyone trots out the percentage of the economy that they generate in GDP terms. Everyone trots out how many people they employ. But who's actually delivering the long-term commercial mortgage solutions that they are after? And actually it was being a broker where afforded you to see where those gaps were from a lending perspective. So when the Allica opportunity arose, I could see where my experience could match that gap. In addition to that, I think lenders try to put SMEs in boxes, and they also try to put brokers in boxes as well. I don't mean wooden boxes, cardboard boxes.
Hopefully not,
so actually, by having a broker involved in that process, we've been able to look at the build of Allica and say, how do we align more closely with how a broker, which is a changing market, which I'm sure we'll come on to, how those brokerage firms wish to operate.
I think
how can we best work with them?
All lenders are guilty of doing that. I mean, you talk about having a kind of, once the rate card gets cut into 5 different boxes and you have to fit in one of them, it's it becomes a problem.
Absolutely, and one of the reasons why we don't have a product guide, there's great specialist lenders in our markets. This room today
it's full of them.
Is full of them, and it's full of lenders that are doing really good work for property investors, property developers and SMEs. But actually, if you look at the show guide, how many are really dedicated to SMEs? And that's no criticism.
No, you're right. No, I mean, it's an opportunity for you guys.
We've got, for example, one of the business areas we look at is what I call pure trading businesses. So I'm talking about the publican, the B&B operators. There's 25,000 B&Bs in the UK.
Yeah.
There's 300,000 retail businesses.
Yeah.
Not all of them need a short-term lending solution. Many will.
Many don't.
Many want to back that family business for the next 15, 20 years and need committed capital in order to do that.
Yeah.
So again, taking what Allica are looking to do and perhaps some brokerage experience as well, that's how we try to deliver.
How many people are employed at the bank?
We're up to around 75 people in the bank.
Yeah.
And we'll obviously
based?
continue to grow that. Well, we've got an office in London. We've got people around the UK who are also home based. They're working from Northwest, from the West Midlands, East Midlands, and we're going to be opening a new site shortly outside of London as well. And I think to Nick's point around where the market is at, one of the key things we see is that any bank, any business like ours can only play a part within the SMEs advisory role.
Yep.
One of the reasons why we're here, not just talking to you, but at the show and working with our partners, is that brokers form a fundamental part now of that advisory team that business owners, people running businesses have, and they're also really important to us as a bank, and form a really key part of how we will be able to service SMEs. Since the change that happened through the industry over the last 12 years, we've seen a huge rise in the number of people that are able to position themselves to support businesses with requirements. And bringing somebody like Nick in, has been great because it's allowed us to really understand the challenges that both the brokerage firms themselves have in terms of the lenders they work with, but also that their customers are facing.
Yeah.
And how can you build a proposition that really works for them, not just yourselves?
Yeah, okay. Talk to me about the technology side, because I know you sort of went out of your way to say that you haven't got the shiniest app going, and I think if I look at the market, and I'm quite interested in this marketplace, then you can go all the way to the other side, which is just an online app bank, like a Revolut, for instance, who I use. They don't provide lending, they don't understand SMEs, I completely get that, but there is an easy way to open an account and to see your activity in real time, with kind of flashing lights and bells and whistles, which I actually find really, really useful, having been stuck with old school banks for many, many years. Tried to open a business bank account for a tiny little business that I just wanted to deposit my own money into, but getting pushed around getting asked ridiculous questions.
Yeah.
I've been one extreme to the other. So I'm interested, you said that there is some technology. How do you see technology playing a role in what you're doing?
I think technology's got a big role to play. It's not the only one. For me, it's about how technology works with people and how it works for people. We will develop over time in terms of the things that we bring from a technology perspective to customers. At the outset, it's actually fairly limited, fairly straightforward, because what we want to ensure is that we've got an architecture, and we're getting a bit boring now, but the architecture side of what we're building gives us the ability...
Should be boring, you're a bank.
It's absolutely not.
That is outrageous.
That just fell out my mouth, by the way.
But the thing for us is that what we want to do is make sure we've got that built, stable, secure operating system, which you would absolutely expect from any bank. And then from there, it's about working with customers and also with broker partners to make sure that what we're building is hitting some of the key pain points for them. Whether that be, onboarding in an easy, slick way that gives you, one point of data entry, not multiple times.
Yeah.
If you're coming back for more info, which is a requirement at times,
yeah,
so
do
it easily.
You're very broker focused. I mean, it's unusual, I think, for a bank to be so broker focused.
I think it will become less unusual.
I believe it should be less unusual on the basis that those are the people with the clients that require your services.
Yeah.
But I mean, I imagine my experience with banks is there's a kind of brick wall up against, we don't deal with brokers and we don't have... so that's clearly something that you've actively decided that you want to kind of recruit new business in that way.
Absolutely. To Chris's point, they are playing that pivotal role in managing SME relationships.
Agreed.
Tens of thousands of RMs leaving the market. Thousands and thousands of branches shutting, and we can plug that in part, but it's an industry solution that's required. We can plug that in part by having the technology stack that Chris talks about that can be developed over time, but also having someone at the end of the phone in our team that's got 30 years experience in lending to SME owner-operated businesses.
So you're going to want those customers to bank with you? As in,
I mean, as we build, that's something we'll think about. But at the outset, absolutely not. It's important always for me that we will play the part we can play.
Yeah.
And within that, we need to form a part of that. That ecosystem for SMEs, which brokers play a part of. Other banks will always play a part of, as will a lot of the funders that you see around the room today. There's a space for the right type of support at the right time. As we build, we hope to be able to cover a lot more of those needs for businesses.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
are you open for business now?
We are open for business.
Yeah, open and trading. Initial broker panel built. Inquiries have been coming in over the last 3 to 4 weeks and are
mostly lending. I guess you've got a deposit product now.
We will be launching a deposit product in short.
What's that going to look like?
Yeah, so we'll be having a range of different options out there. So starting in the new year, we'll be getting those out into the marketplace. And
is that a case of listing on Money Supermarket and opening the doors?
Yeah, we'll be doing fairly typical approach to the way that we do that. And pretty competitive rates that allow us to partly let people know that we're
build
open.
Some deposits.
We're a bank, we've got full FSCS compliance, so in that sense, it's a good opportunity for businesses, particularly some of those who are looking to take the cash that they are depositing and have a bit more access to a new bank.
The day one product types are all about that SME. They're two mortgage products essentially, very straightforward.
So they all
secured
on property.
Secure commercial mortgages. So there's commercial owner occupied.
Yeah.
So butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, and
tell
commercial
me what that product
looks
like.
So that product is 100,000 to 2 million. Both products are 100,000 to 2 million. 20-year committed terms on those products as well. So again, playing back to my point about that long-term commitment, and I think that's really important actually. Just on that point, the amount of 5-year money for owner-occupied businesses, I think at the moment,
and buy-to-lets and everything.
Well, I think it's outrageous because that is not what the borrower is asking for. And I don't actually think they know about the consequences of what will happen at the end of year 5.
I've been through those cycles as well, and I've had residential buy-to-let from NatWest with 5-year term. Get to the end, the goalpost starts moving.
Well, it's goalpost, but you're also getting a revaluation. You're going back into a legal process. Yeah. You're going back into an arrangement fee process. Yeah. And that really needs an industry solution because that is not long-term support. So we're their long-term support.
So 20 years, what sort of loan to values?
Ranges across the pieces you'd expect, but there's 2 things to comment on. One is for an industrial or warehouse business, we've got loan to values that sit well alongside the competitor set. We don't operate a product guide, we don't like bucketed LTV
So for
products.
The butchers and bakers that you were talking about before?
Yeah, you're going to be somewhere between 60 and 70% loan to value. On the owner-occupied businesses, and this is key, and the market misses this, where there's inherent goodwill, we've actually got the ability to take that into account when we lend as well.
So you could lend 100% of the value of the property?
For instance, well, I'll give you an example. Let's say we've got a trading hotel that's making 200,000. Okay, that's probably worth in the market today around 1.7 to 2 million pounds. We will take a look at the open market value, the NV1, in a red book valuation, with a check back to a VP.
Like an old Pinder's a business valuation.
Correct. So you're looking at, if an operator has worked hard to build that goodwill, that must play part of their lending decision. Yeah,
it does if you're looking at other assets, which are effectively the business is. I mean, look, a lot of these guys don't understand that. They're not in that market. But what would you be pricing those sort of 60%?
If you're looking at an owner-occupied deal,
where they're not trying to leverage every penny of goodwill value they've got.
If we're looking at, let's look based on the inquiries that we've had. Okay, so if we look across those, margins ranging about 5.25%, 5.75% on an owner-occupied business. So we're
over base.
We're correct, over base rate. We're firmly and unapologetically in the space between the high street and some of the other challenges in the market. And
so,
that for us is about pricing to risk. So our pricing model, as you'd expect for a tech-driven bank, has got thousands and thousands of data points. And that's actually about not having a product guide that's bucketed with a rate on a loan to value that takes a binary approach. And that is because...
It's difficult to argue, sorry.
I'm going to argue. That is because we have the people in the business that have the experience to take that approach.
What I'm saying, sorry, to clarify, is that it's less technology driven. It can't be as well technology driven if somebody's making a decision, which I actually think is a good thing personally. I think it was done really well when the computer says no. Videos were circling around the world. That is obviously not the way to go. You can't put even two shops with the same tenants next door each other on the same high street in the same category.
It's superb, isn't it? So if you're looking at a trading business, one of the biggest things to consider from a risk perspective is clearly the ability of the management team. I don't know an algorithm yet that can tell us the ability of a management team. So it's tech being an enabler for our decisions.
Great. I'm actually going to get to some of my questions now quickly. It's been really good. I've enjoyed meeting you both. So what words of wisdom would you give, because we're trying to ask the same questions over and over again, what words of wisdom would you give to somebody looking to enter this industry?
Don't do it.
Not the only one to say that.
Go on, you go.
Shall I go?
Yeah.
I mean, from someone that started their career in the industry, I see it as an incredibly vibrant place. The words of wisdom I would give to people is really think about what part of the market you want to work in. I think when we've been approached by people that want to work in the market, people that are looking for work experience opportunities. The market is so diverse, and as tech comes in, there's more emphasis than ever on operations management, on customer experience, on the tech build behind the bank, and less about the balance sheet, if you like, of the business you're lending to. So I think those people need to really, really think about it. I actually think the bigger problem we've got is we are losing talent to other industries, and we're losing talent that historically would have looked at financial services. So it's got an image problem at the moment. So I'd encourage people to explore which part of financial services they wanted to work in. But I think actually we need an industry solution to get more talent into the business, because we are going to lose them to different businesses.
I think it's really interesting. And for me, there's a couple of things. So first of all, I think in terms of words of wisdom for people, I'm not sure I can necessarily give them those, but for me, it's all about learn. It's about being open to understand, take time, ask questions, be inquisitive. Because the more you can do that, the more you'll pick up, the more you get to learn your trade. You understand what's happening. You figure out what people are trying to get to.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant.
And I think that's absolutely key. For me, the thing that I always love about what we do, because we are in the SME space, is go and speak to SME business owners. We've all got them. We've all got the family, the friend, the person who's running a business, who comes home looking stressed every day. Go and ask your uncle or aunt, why did they leave that accounting practice and start the ice cream factory? Because when you get into the nuts and bolts of it, it's those businesses that are the ones that we all know, and they've all got that reach through it, and we all know those people.
Yeah,
and if you can get that interest and love for business and businesses in that way, financial services is an attractive place to do because of what you can do for them.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I really, really like that. I mean, I always say to people, because I've been in lending for a long time, and I always say to people that try and find out the whole story. So you could write down the building value's 500 and the loan's 250 and this is the rate, but it'd be interesting to find out, who are you, where did you come from, why did you buy this building in the first place,
absolutely,
how much money have you put in, and why did you put that money in the first place, and has that panned out the way you wanted it to? And I think then you really start to understand the sort of psychology of what's going on here and why people are doing and what their struggles are and what the bits they like and they don't like.
If you don't ask those questions, you cannot deliver.
No,
because you will never get to the root cause of what that SME needs.
Agree.
And I'd also counter, if you don't ask those questions, you're pawnbroking.
Yeah.
You're taking a legal charge in exchange for a margin.
Yeah.
And it has to be more important than that.
Yeah.
And actually, if we told the young people what we do better as an industry, I think we'd attract more people in.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right. So I guess for you guys, it's quite an interesting question, but what would you like to see change in 2020?
I think for me,
or what do you think will change?
I mean, we could definitely talk about some of the uncertainty that we've got and get that going. For me, I think the benefit that we've got is that we're in a unique position to be able to support people, as they go through that uncertainty. One of the benefits of having a new business and a new bank like ours is we have to be aware of all the things that are happening at macro level. But actually, it's a real opportunity for us to see through some of that. We don't have the pressure of people who, maybe need to move a business off the balance sheet or, need to think about avoiding certain sectors. For us, we can take a different view to it. So for me, it's less about frustrations. It's, we've got a lot of work to do for ourselves and in making sure that we're just staying really close to our broker partners, our customers, as we go through that. And to see how we can make sure we're supporting them through that period.
I'd actually say what I'd like to see is, back to your point about young talent, some industry work on how we get younger people back into the industry.
Yeah.
That for me includes the ongoing conversations that are being led by some superb people in the industry around diversity as well. I'm proud that our business is playing a real part in that. Yeah. And looks at all opportunities and
allowing
diversity.
people to work remotely is important, because why should you stop someone brilliant working for you if they can't come to London every day? It doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, about 60% of our distribution team that's facing off with SMEs, other professionals in the market, and our broker partners are not based in the office, and why should they be?
Yeah, I mean, with a world where financial services is becoming more and more regulated by the minute, I mean, it does sort of become interesting to a different type of person than maybe it did when I was looking at the industry some time ago. Yeah. And I think there is a sort of boring stigma. Some people, I mean, it's become more popular to talk about money and how to save money. It was always very private. I think people never talked about what your salary was or what your pension was, but now it's become like a lot of taboo subjects. So yeah, I think more could be done, but I can see different type of talent being attracted to the industry.
And I think we need a different type of talent.
Recruiting younger people who don't have preconceived ideas of the regulation is a pain in the arse and it was never like this in my day. I think there's an opportunity for people studying finance, come straight out of university or higher education into a modern technology-backed bank and
learn their trade.
Definitely.
I think what might have put off some of these young people, and I'm actually certain it has, is if 41% of those have had parents that have been in the industry, mum or dad has worked in that industry.
Yeah, they hated it.
In the last 15 years, they've probably had to reapply for their own job 10 times.
Yeah.
You can imagine some of those stories around the dinner table, not necessarily meaning that individual wants to follow their parents into a very different market now, but perhaps a market that's not very well understood.
Yeah, maybe it'll skip a generation. Gentlemen, I've really enjoyed talking to you. I'm going to cut it off because we're trying to get through as many as we can today, but I'd like to carry on talking one day.
Yeah, great.
Pleasure. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Pleasure.